Hey everyone, welcome back to the Living North Phoenix podcast. I'm Blair Ballin with Living North Phoenix, founder of Living North Phoenix and Valleypalooza, and we are continuing our awesome fitness February podcast theme for February. And so far, it's been awesome. I've had on some great guests, and very much looking forward to today's guest, Christopher Wilson, as well as next week, and the awesome information that we've had. Just as a couple tips and reminders, make sure that you're staying engaged in the Phoenix or the Living North Phoenix Facebook group, as well as subscribe to our newsletter on our website, looking at our events calendar. We've had and have some amazing events coming up, highlighted by our main event in April, on April 19th, Valleypalooza. If you don't know about it, go to valleypalooza.com. So, as I mentioned, we're here with Christopher Wilson today. So, Christopher, tell us a little bit about what you do, who you are, and welcome to the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, my name is Christopher Wilson, and my business is called CWTotalBody.com. I am a fitness instructor that works out of a private gym in North Scottsdale. I've been with the owner for 16 years, and I also have worked in the medical field in physical therapy for over 10 years. And what I do is I take my medical approach to fitness, and I specialize in helping people to stabilize their bodies as well as be more limber and more flexible, especially with seniors that are active 55 plus that play pickleball, golf, and also tennis. And it turns out that a lot of the things that are important in a program for seniors to keep them on their court or keep them on the golf course also helps them stabilize in the event of a fall. So I'm very big into helping seniors and having a medical approach instead of just a fitness approach to helping them to stay active and keep them off the injured list and especially keep them from falling.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here and sharing that. So, just out of curiosity, which gym is it if you're comfortable sharing?
Absolutely. The gym is called the Scottsdale School of Fitness and Combine, and it is right behind the Scottsdale Quarter.
Oh, very nice. Okay. So walk me through this because this is really interesting to me and the timing is great, not because, we're doing Fitness February, but so I'm going to be 50 in a year, a year and a week. And when I was growing up until about the age of 22, 25, somewhere in there, um, I went to the gym or I was more active. And then since then, a lot more desk sitting, sedentary type lifestyle. And as
Right.
of maybe I guess 2 weeks ago, I rejoined a gym that I used to be a part of with an emphasis on working on something. And I'm not trying to take away your time and make this about me, but I think this is very relevant, is really recognizing that my core and stability were way or are way off. And as I grow older, as we all are, but approaching that 50 mark and then beyond that the risk for falls and injuries becomes that much greater and the damage that can happen to the body. So walk us through like the mentality of the importance of having that strong core, being more stable, and exercise and the approach you take.
Well, the approach I take is a medical approach because of the diagrams that I follow. I mean, the medical books, we have all kinds of different lines in our bodies. We have spiral lines, we have lateral lines, and the superficial back line, which is where it all starts. And this is where I start with my people at the gym. I make all my clients stretch for about 15 to 20 minutes before we get started. That way we prevent injury and whatever muscle group that we're going to work on, we make sure it's pliable and ready to go. So with my approach is to make sure that people have stability at their knee, stability at their ankle, and stable pelvis. And the thing is, what a lot of people need to understand is that the core is not just your abdominal cavity. Your core is your low back, your abdominal cavity, and your pelvis. And in certain diagrams, they also have the scapulus, and it's drawn like an anchor, if you will. And the thing is, you have to be able to engage it. And that doesn't mean just training and doing ab exercises, but the ability to engage your heel when you step and when you exercise and when you stabilize helps you to engage your pelvis, which engages all the rest of it. Now, when you can do that, you can have a better stabilization when you have a weight bearing load. If you're going to be doing a squat or if you're going to be doing any kind of complex movement involving the upper body and the lower body, And it starts with loosening up the bottom of your feet, which is where the superficial backline starts. So once you loosen up the bottom of your feet, then you can get the calves to loosen up, and then the hamstrings, and the glute, and then so on and so forth. So being able to do that really makes a big difference. And a lot of times, a lot of people that train, they don't work out their inner thigh. And working out the inner thigh takes a lot of pressure off of the outer thigh, which is also connected to your pelvis and your low back. And for people that are sedentary, they're seated all day long, the outside of their thighs are very, very stiff and very tight, and they don't realize how tight they are because they're not in tune with their bodies. And while a lot of people that are very stiff will tell me, "Oh yeah, I'm fine," but then I can look at them and they're stiffer than a board, and but they don't know what it feels like to be loose. And
Right.
that's something else that I do in my profession too. I also do stretch massage to help people get looser on the weekends.
Mm,
And I help people out of knee pain, low back pain, and neck pain. And the thing is, if you're not an athlete or if you're not involved in a workout, you're really not involved in and knowing your awareness and as far as your how tight you are and how you should feel as opposed to how you shouldn't feel. And a lot of people are two steps away from an injury.
right. Forgive the stupid question and being naive. So when you talked about the foot, are
Yes.
there actual foot movements and stretches and stuff you do, or what does that specifically look like?
That's a great question. I don't believe there is a stupid question. But honestly, the bottom of your feet, there's a lot of nerves, and there's also musculature that has to be loosened up. And in order to loosen up the musculature, you have to have the right amount of pressure on it to basically bully the muscle into relaxing. So what I have my people do is I have them step on a lacrosse ball, which is very dense. It doesn't have any give like a tennis ball or a racquetball. And by loosening up the bottom of your feet, that helps to start loosening up the bottom of your calf, which is called your soleus, and then you can get the top part of your calf and on so forth. And then I have them do foam rolling. I have them do stretching with bands. I have them sit on an 8 pound ball and loosen up their glutes that way before they stretch so they get a better stretch. And even just doing those stretches before we start, they already start to feel better before they even do their exercise.
I bet. Wow. Okay. Um, All right. So then are you I know you touched on and mentioned like movements like squats and stuff. And every person and situation is different. Do you tend to lean more movement based like squats, deadlifts, bench presses, or are you more into the go to the like grass I know you're not at EOS gym, but like grassy area and push the sled and other movements like that, or what does that look like?
I like all the movements. I like all the movements because we have in our gym, it's over 10,000 square feet, and half of the gym is artificial turf where we do have sleds. And the sled is a great way to get your heart rate elevated. If you're pushing it from the lower portion of the sled, it creates more flexion of the quad, and that's really good. But I don't really spend too much time on deadlifts and super, you know, power exercises unless I'm working with an athlete. But squatting is essential for everybody to learn, especially the proper form of how to squat and how to load your body. Because a lot of people that don't know what they're doing, if they're squatting incorrectly and they're sending their knees constantly past their toes, at that point you're stressing out your joints. And of course, you're not going to want to squat anymore because it hurts. But also, too, on a squat, especially a unilateral exercise, like a single leg squat, it identifies a lot of power leaks. So somebody just like a step up. So a single leg step up, if you don't have the inner strength of the inner thigh, then your knee's going to collapse during a squat and you won't be able to have the alignment, which is a 90-degree angle between your hip, your knee, and your heel, which is very prevalent in every single leg exercise you're going to do, whether it's a lunge, a squat, a split squat, and it's very important, even on the leg press, it's very important to make sure that you have everything aligned so you can protect your knee and also have more engagement of your hip.
Wow, okay, awesome info. So, so someone comes in with an issue or not an issue, they just want to work out or whatever. Walk us through some of your favorite tips, best tips that apply more generally to all the people listening and that kind of stuff.
Oh, when they first come in, I basically find out what your goals are, if you've had any injuries, if you've had any exercises that have been contraindicated by any doctor or physician that you might know about. If I'm working with a senior client, I always make sure that they're cleared by their doctors to do so first, and basically just finding out what their level of fitness is before they start. Because if you're somebody who's a beginner, as much as I'd love to have you 3 or 4 days a week, you're really better off just doing one day to start. And, the rule of thumb is generally if you're doing one day a week, you're really only going to maintain the physique that you have 2 days a week. Obviously, you're going to have more results 3 days a week, 4 days, and so on. But if you're a beginner and so you don't overload your stress of your body and get injured or overwhelmed and get a bad experience from it, you want to start simple and start off with one day a week. Learn the proper exercises, learn your posture, learn how to breathe. I teach my people how to breathe properly because there's a different type of breathing and everything that you're going to be doing, and also your posture, your weight distribution, and making sure that you are strong on both sides.
So talk to us a little bit more about the breathing part, because our first episode, I don't know if you saw it or not, we had Amy on talking about some breathing. So walk
Sure,
us through some of your breathing tips, exercises, or explanations, whatever that looks like.
sure. So, in the event of weight training, if you're pushing or pulling, you're going to be breathing out. And also, if you're doing something that's high intense, like a sled push, or when I have my clients walk on a 30% incline, your heart rate's going to go very high. And if you're a beginner, it's going to go high no matter what you do, even if it's not intense like a sled. So at that point, you have to breathe a lot slower to keep your heart rate in check and not to have it go through the roof. Because the thing is, I know that a lot of people, I'm 49, I'm going to be 49 next month as well. So I only have another year in my 40s. So we're taught when we're kids that we stand in place with our hands on our knees and let our bodies cool down that way. Well, that's not how you do it in the event of your heart rate being super high. So if you're doing something like a sled or a 30% incline walk, you need to take a slow walk around and keep your breathing slow, and that will bring your heart rate down. Because if you stand in place, it's only going to go through the roof, and either you're going to have to lay down and put your legs up, or you're going to go outside and puke.
Interesting. And it's
Yeah,
so funny. So yesterday was my second week back to the gym, and my trainer had me do the sled, and I did them 5, 6 years ago, and I love that exercise. But
sure.
at the end of the first one, I was really huffing and puffing, and all of that makes sense. And I sure enough, just like you just described, was basically like this, going the whole
Yeah.
time. So
Uh-huh.
that's really, really good feedback. And regardless if someone does a sled, I know you said a movement that brings about that outcome. Doesn't matter
Sure.
what the activity is, but awesome. So you've mentioned this a few times, and I know it's in your name on the screen here. You're working with seniors, and you've mentioned that.
Mhm.
So we have a seniors living in North Phoenix group also, and different segments of our community that are dedicated to seniors. You've touched on, whether it's pickleball, golf, whatever sport, or no sport. Um, and obviously stability, core, preventing injuries as we get older, all that stuff is super, super important. Walk us through, maybe let's start with a senior approaches you, wants to work out, but maybe they're too afraid to go to the gym. Too many people around. They're too worried about something. Walk us through how you would talk to them, comfort them, issues you've come about, whatever that looks like.
That's a great point to make, and that's why I developed my program A Plus Seniors that I sell through my website. And the program, there are 12 different stretch videos that I instruct myself. I had a film crew come into the gym when it was closed, and also 8 different exercises. And it comes with every piece of equipment you need where you can do it at home. And I'm basically your trainer in your living room. And the thing is, these are not super hard exercises for seniors, but they're very effective because the majority of the exercises that are designed for seniors in a lot of these programs only concentrate in 2 different planes, forwards and backwards. Well, our bodies move in 4 planes. So you have to be able to move forward, backwards, left, and right. Also, in whether you're playing a sport or you're picking up a grandkid or you're reaching for something, you're going to do what they call rotation, which is your upper extremity is going to rotate to your right or to your left, and your lower body, your lower body is going to be in place. Well, if you can't do that without looking down or reaching for something, that can also, you know, make your chances of a fall increase. So I go over rotation. I go over all the stretches that I make my clients do in the gym in my video with all the programs, and not just that, but with the program, having blocks under your heels, which is what's one of the things that's included in the program, gives the seniors an extra support for their ankles
Hmm.
so they can engage their heel more and have that stability before they get a little stronger or a little looser in the calf area.
Oh, that's awesome. You mentioned you have a website. Feel free to plug it. So what is it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My program is called A Plus Seniors, and my website is called cwtotalbody.com.
Okay. Um, this has been very, very informative so far. So what else would you like to add that either we haven't talked about or that you wanted to talk about?
I wanted to put it out there that I'm looking to be part of more senior communities and go out there and just basically talk to them and volunteer my services to help them
Wow.
and really educate the seniors and the senior athletes, the active 55 plus, because it doesn't do you any good to start trying to do a program once you're already on a walker or already in a cast or in a wheelchair. You have to get these people when they're still active and keep them active because what we want to do is we want to, prolong their lives. I don't know about you, but if I had grandparents, I would still want them to be here. And I want my dad to be here as long as I can. And he's 76. God bless him.
Absolutely, I'm with you 100%. And I'll say for those that are watching or listening to this now, Chris and I have never met before. When we started the podcast, this was our first time face to face. I will say, excuse me, you have an infectious smile. So just
Thank you.
someone that shows up to train with you or that you have as a client, I would only also imagine that also radiates to them to be able to want to do more. Yeah, this has been awesome, and I'm sure your clients are grateful, and the gym is grateful to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. This has been awesome for me. Anything else that you'd like to talk about or mention? Let's do some more contact info so people know how to get a hold of you.
Sure, sure. You can reach me at 480-273-9483, or you can email me at chris@cwtotalbody.com. And I will definitely get back to you if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you need any help. I'm always available. And I really look forward to getting the word out to help seniors and help them keep the number of people on pickleball as it gets more and more popular, keep them on the court and show them how to be able to move laterally, forwards, backwards, and be strong every time they put the heel down. And this is another thing that a lot of people don't think about. And in my years of physical therapy, one of the things I had to do was called gait training. And gait is a fancy way to say how you walk, if for people who don't know. So the normal gait or average gait, I should say, is a heel strike, a mid stance, and a toe off. But a lot of people, when they walk, especially athletes, they skip the heel strike altogether. A lot of them will go straight to the mid stance, or they'll just do toe off, period. So, in an athletic stance, when you're exploding left and right and forward and backwards, you're using a lot of toe. Well, when you lose a lot of toe, you're over plantar flexing your toes and overusing your calves. Well, when your top of your calf gets super tight from over plantar flexing using your toes, you're also pulling on that knee. And if you combine the tightness from the outside of your thigh combined with the tightness of your calf, you're going to have knee instability, especially if you don't have an inner thigh that's strong enough to keep it from being pulled out laterally.
Wow.
So
So
that's something to consider.
absolutely, yeah, and this is really cool to me because years ago, back in my uh, late teens, when I was into bodybuilding and stuff, which really just meant working out, and my workouts usually were just like squats, deadlifts. I was never a fan of chest exercises, but regardless, I happened to meet this guy who at the time was a famous, I think Johns Hopkins person, whatever that means, and
From the university?
yeah. And
Nice.
Bill Starr maybe is his name.
Okay.
Years ago. But anyway, he was talking about the importance of working the inner thigh and outer thigh, and there were machines
Yes.
and there are machines that do it. But it was so funny
Hmm.
because so many teens especially were like, we got to do the squats to just be strong or do whatever. But the importance of the inner outer thigh was not really discussed like it is today for things like these discussions and stuff like that. So it's super important, and I'm glad you brought it up.
I am too. And it's something that needs to be addressed in whether you're a senior or you're not a senior. So all the things that I do with my clients, whether they're seniors or they're not, I do it with everybody because everybody needs to supply. Everybody needs to have the ability to stabilize. And if you're doing a single leg squat, or if you're doing a step up, or if you're doing a regular squat and your knees are collapsing, then you need to address that because that's something that's going to lead to a lot of injury if you don't have that inner thigh strength. And with how tight everybody is on the outside, once you start training the inner thigh, the tightness on the outside will start to subside.
Hmm,
And that's a lot of relief for your low back and your pelvis. And the thing is, if during exercise, if you're trying to stabilize on your toes, it's not going to happen.
right.
And that also leads the knee to collapse as well, which puts pressure that you don't need. But by engaging the heel, you take the pressure off of your knee and you apply the stability to your pelvis and the engagement, and that'll help everybody.
Hmm.
So it's good for all ages, but seniors more importantly than anything. But unfortunately, the fall prevention is not is I don't honestly I don't think the fall prevention is being brought to the seniors in the right light because they've just been shoved down their throats, unfortunately. And it doesn't make them feel good. It doesn't make them feel happy about their age. And and it really should be more education. Like, this is why you're doing this. Because with my what I do with my clients, I'm a teacher in everything that I do. I even teach the Spanish language. I teach beginning Spanish. And when I teach, you have to explain why you're doing something. Just like any exercise you're doing in the gym, it should benefit you somehow. And if it's not, if it's just some filler exercise to burn calories and burn sweat, what are you doing? Why are you there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So two things before we wrap up, and they're unrelated. But number one, what are your thoughts on cardio? Just a overall quick opinion on cardio.
Cardio is great for conditioning your heart, but if you really want to trim down, you need to be more specific at the dinner table.
Okay, love it. And then number two, we talked about this right before we started. So you are a native to North Phoenix. Don't need to give your cross streets or anything, but
Sure.
let us know whereabouts in North Phoenix you live and your passion for the community. I know you've already mentioned seniors and being fit, but whereabouts in North Phoenix are you from?
I am from 23rd Avenue in Union Hills.
Okay.
I currently live off the 7th Street in the 101. And I went to Barry High School. I was class of 95. And I've been in Phoenix my whole life. I work in Scottsdale, but I'm from Phoenix, so I'm a little more loyal to Phoenix than I am to Scottsdale. And I love this place. I've been here my whole life, and my father's still here, and I won't leave without my dad.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I wanted to thank you for your time and thank you for having me on your show. And I love what you do. I've done a couple other podcasts, and I think it's really a great medium for people to learn more and learn things and educate themselves and connect. And I look forward to more connections. And if there's anything I can ever do for you or any of your listeners, I'm all here.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being on. Yeah, I can't wait to share this with the community across all platforms because there's a ton of good information that I've gotten from it. I know others will get too. So yeah, thanks for being here. And I'll let you know. I know that people listening don't need to hear this part, but I'll let you know when we've wrapped this up and have it ready to be released in our community. You can share it because more people need to hear this, and I definitely want to connect with you at another point to talk about senior communities and maybe bringing in, you to talk to them and do activities or whatever, because there's so much that can be done here.
Be great, and it'd be my pleasure because the simplest things to me are very difficult to a lot of people, but as long as you explain it properly, it's not overwhelming, it's not too much, and they'll see a lot of value in it, but it has to be brought to them in the right manner. And I'm at your service.
Huh. Thank you so much. And thanks again for being on.
Absolutely, buddy. Have a great day.
You too. Take care.
Thanks.